I think that the more pastors we can get to work together, the more guys we can equip who already have a demonstrated history of multiplying, we can work together to create a pipeline of guys who aspire to be church planters. We're seeing 5, 6, maybe 10 new churches started annually.
Welcome to Jesus in the Upper Left, where we're talking about gospel multiplication in the Pacific Northwest.
Hey, everybody. My name is Gabe Kolstad. I'm from Westside Community Church in Beaverton, Oregon, and I'm with my friend Virgil today. Virgil, I'm so glad that you're with us.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Gabe.
You bet. Virgil Brown is a pastor of Redemption Church. We're going to hear more about that in just a few minutes. But first, my big burning question for this chance to chat is, why are you in your home office today and not at your church?
The church is loud, brother. There's a lot of road noise based on where the office is located, and people can be in and out, and I wanted to protect our time. So I'm working from this afternoon.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're sharing. I'm also in my home office. We're both doing it for the same reason. We're hiding. That's why we're hiding from people. Yep. Just for a few minutes, right? It's going to be fun to chat. If you don't know this, you're out there watching or listening, Virgil's done an episode with us before, so you can dig through the archives and find that. But today, we're going to be talking a little bit about a brand new venture that he's up to that I think is really something that it's high time for in our city, in the Portland area. And if you're from outside of Portland and you're kind of looking at this going like, what's happening there? Or maybe you're thinking of coming and being a part of the ministry or God's harvest here in the Portland area. This kind of thing that Virgil's up to today is really, really fantastic. But first, let's go way back, Virgil. And why don't you give us a sense of your background, your family, kind of like how you ended up where you're at now?
Yeah, sure. Be happy to do that. So I pastor Redemption Church in Northeast Portland. It's a church that is just about ready to celebrate its 5th anniversary next month.
Yeah.
Do the math on that. That means we started this church during the pandemic, one of those crazy pandemic church plants. But we believe the Lord was moving us forward, so we walked out on faith and did that, and we've been really happy that we did. Before that, I pastored Gresham Bible Church in Gresham, Oregon, and I planted that church and pastored it for 12 years. That church is thriving, doing really well under a new lead pastor. The congregation has grown and the ministry has grown. So I've been a pastor now for about 18 years, specifically a church planter. So the two churches I pastor, I've started.
Wow, that's great. I've also been a pastor for 18 years. I didn't realize we shared that same amount of time in it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Share a little bit about your family.
Yeah, my wife and I, my wife Kelsey, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary last month in July, and we have 4 kids together. My oldest will be a senior in high school this year. My son will be a sophomore, and my 2 younger girls are 6th grade and 4th grade.
Wow. So my wife and I, we just celebrate our 30th anniversary this summer, and that means you started pastoring when you're like 12. Right? Ish.
I was a really young pastor, man. So I was just, Gabe, literally thinking about that today. While I was eating my lunch, I was thinking, I was so dumb. I was a fool. But God used me, and people suffered with me. That's the biggest thing, is that core team of people stuck with me through those growing pains, and I'm so thankful for
That's
them.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's happening at Redemption. What's maybe like a highlight from the church plant there?
Yeah, one thing we're celebrating right now is the way that God is bringing people to faith. So we have been able to see a number of conversions happen, and recently some pretty spectacular conversions. What's really interesting about that, Gabe, is it's not necessarily through our evangelistic plan. So we do things evangelistically like every church, but we're seeing fruit come from some pretty ordinary things that we've done, like having a website with talks on the website that people listen to, and they hear the gospel and they believe in Jesus, and they start coming to church.
Yeah.
So those are some of the stories that we're being able to tell right now. Really really happy about that because we have a prayerful church and our church prays for the lost often. So this upcoming baptism service will be a real encouragement for our people. Leadership development has been something that's been really encouraging for me. So we're growing our leadership and growing the pipeline of people that we have to become leaders. So that leadership pipeline is getting more established. Really thankful for that. So a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's interesting because the themes that you're talking about, evangelistic fruit and leadership development, it seems like the Lord is doing that around the city in unique ways, and that this season has been one of those ones where it's like, yep, the fields are white unto harvest. I mean, there's so much happening, and it's awesome to hear that's also happening at Redemption. And I know you've been at it, you've been faithfully plugging away. And I know you're one of those guys that never really slowed down your effort and activity, even when it was really hard. I mean, you started in a hard time, but I just know you've been just plowing away. It's awesome to see God blessing that. Very cool. Yeah. Okay, but then there's another thing that you're doing that's on top. Really, it's on top of your full-time job.
That's correct. Right? Yeah. So I'm the SEND City Missionary for the SEND Network. Redemption Church is a SEND Network church plant, and SEND was such a huge support to us when we were getting started. It provided me with a tribe to belong to. It also gave me just really great resources. It better equipped me to be a church planter, and it supported our church financially substantially. And we're just so thankful for what SEND has meant to Redemption. And I was looking for ways to give back to the network that gave me so much. And as opportunities presented themselves to volunteer, to be a leader, to take on more responsibility, I said yes to everything. And now I find myself in this role of being the SEND City Missionary, which I'm really thankful for. My task is to work to see new faithful churches catalyzed in the greater Portland, Vancouver area. And that's a pretty broad area. So that's north of Ridgefield, south of Woodburn, west of Hillsborough, and east of Gresham.
Yeah. So I had to just listen close because when you first said it, it sounded like Sin City, like Vegas, but you're saying SEND City.
Yeah. I should be clear about that. SEND City.
Okay. Yeah. Explain a little more about what's behind SEND City and what is SEND City and how does that relate to, what your church now and all that?
Yeah. So SEND is the church planting arm. The SEND Network is a church planting arm of the North American Mission Board, which is a part of the larger Southern Baptist Convention. So the SEND Network has identified key areas around the country where there's a need for a greater gospel witness. And Portland's one of those, Seattle, San Francisco. You could probably guess what the other SEND cities are. But it's not just an urban thing. It's a suburban thing. It's a rural thing. So SEND is working to see new churches get started all over the place and doing that work with all kinds of people in all kinds of places.
Okay, awesome. So when you got started, you've mentioned kind of lightly, like some of the difference that it made. Dig into that a little bit. Like how did it feel to be a part of a network like that? What were some of the specific things that happened?
Yeah, great question. So what I'll do is compare and contrast church planting experience number 1 and number 2. Okay. So Gresham Bible Church, we had a ton of prayer support, and I had a wonderful sending church, Cornerstone, in Gresham. They gave us $50,000, and as a 24-year-old, that sounded like a lot of money. And there were about 25 people in the core group, and we thought we were going to take the city. And we learned pretty quickly that $50,000, it's great, but it goes pretty quickly, even when you're being frugal. So we would have benefited from having additional financial support spread out over a number of years. Church plants in the greater Portland area need a longer runway, usually. Not always, but generally, you can basically expect that. Also, we were basically a very independent church. It was a bootstrap operation, and I would have benefited that first time around, especially as a really young pastor, from having a tribe of people around me providing good coaching and good support, people pouring into my life and sharpening me as a leader. All right, fast forward to starting Redemption Church. I knew I was not going to plant Redemption the way I planted Christian Bible, even though it's a great church by God's grace. So I was looking for a tribe that I could belong to, a strong tribe that had, not to be selfish, but that had a lot to offer in terms of coaching and training and resources and people. I wanted to be a part of a network because I know that you can go further with other people, and that has been true for me. So SEND provided a brotherhood that I had been longing for. SEND also provided opportunities for me to pour into others, which is something I was excited about. So I wanted to be supported, and I wanted to be a support to others, and SEND has been a wonderful partnership for that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like some of the things that were the most helpful to you in terms of the coaching and training stuff, because I think that comes up a lot in all of our conversations around the city with leaders. Like there's just gaps. What was one that really felt like a great support for you?
Yeah, I think that one thing that was really helpful for me in going through the process, doing the training with SEND, was really clarifying my vision for Redemption Church. Something that I find with church planters often is the zeal is there, the drive to make disciples is there. They want to reach the lost. They have in their head what they want to do and how they'd like to accomplish it, but they're not always great at communicating that to their core team and to outsiders, to people who might be interested. And so the whole process of developing my prospectus and developing something really clear that I could call people to was immensely helpful. And then when I was talking to partners or interested parties, I was ready. I was equipped, and they had something that they could understand and latch onto. And I think that's been really helpful. That's just one example of how SEND was helpful. Everything else on top of that, the orientation that you go through, even the assessment that you have to do in order to be an endorsed church planter with SEND was really strengthening.
Yeah. So, and you obviously made a lot of great friends along the way too. Do you have examples of like a new connection that's stuck with you since that process started? Somebody that is kind of maybe a friend now, or more tight connection?
And Gabe, it's not just for me; it's for my wife too. So, Kelsey has made wonderful friendships with other church planter wives around Portland, and they get together. They have their own events. They encourage one another. It's a really strong sisterhood. And I think that's one of the things that can be overlooked when you're thinking about everything you need to plant a church. We don't always think, what does my wife need? But the SEND Network has provided her with a tribe to belong to too. And that's been really life-giving. They've been a great support to one another. I have wonderful friends as a result of working with SEND, guys who I just want to hang out with, like play ball with, go fishing with, watch football with. And I wish I would have had that the first time around in church planting, but it's great to have it this time around. It's something that I would say has been stabilizing, not just for me, but for anyone who plants with the SEND Network. It's something that helps you feel grounded and rooted in your area. And I think it will give us longevity in ministry.
Yeah. It's interesting because a couple of years ago, we did an event for Multiply PDX, and we took a survey of what were some of the top like struggles that planters were facing. And what was interesting was it came back that right at the top was the struggle of mental health, and just, having come through a difficult season in our city. Being in a city, like you said, it takes a little longer, maybe in certain parts of the world or in certain parts of the country, to get a church plant off the ground. There's maybe a little more resistance or a little more push involved, a little more learning curve maybe. And so there was this sense that, there's a real struggle with mental health. But then another big one was spouse support. That there's just, it seems like in church planting, a lot of times as you mentioned, we just totally overlook that. And only think about the actual planter and the training that they need, but the community that is required for a whole family, to stick with it is really a big deal. So it's exciting for me to hear that SEND is doing such a great job with that. And and really this SEND network that you're talking about is one of many networks that are functioning in the Portland area, and something very, very exciting is happening in that what we're not seeing is a bunch of siloed networks that are not willing to work with each other or talk to each other. So why don't you unpack the next little level of what we're going to talk about in terms of what's the initiative that you're working on, and how does that relate to a city that, where the body of Christ wants to work together?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because as I thought about and prayed about, how can we reach our metro area? How can we work together how can we work to see more good churches started? It became really clear that what we need is a coalition of like-minded pastors who all share a heart for seeing churches multiply, and who want to see new leaders raised up, and who are willing to invest in those leaders so that we can start new churches that will do well in our area. And this coalition I'm working to build is going to be made up of all different types of pastors. Some will have a Baptist background, others won't. Our goal is really to create a team of pastors who can collaborate together, work together to see new churches started in and around the greater Portland area. So that's the goal.
Love it. What's been happening so far, and tell us a bit about it, not just the big picture hopes and dreams, but what are some of your other hopes and dreams for all of this?
Yeah. So really quick, so far, the interest in the coalition has been really strong.
Okay.
So really thankful for the conversations I've had with pastors around town who are saying, man, this would be wonderful. Or our church was just praying about this. This is the kind of thing that we recognize that we need to be a part of. So that's really exciting to see how the Lord has gone ahead of us to prepare the way. I think it's really important for people, pastors and churches, to work together, to want to lock arms together, to equip pastors, to help contribute to the development of aspiring church planters, and even just like really practically to dream about where new churches are needed. I think at the SEND Network, what we want to do is we want to get input from local pastors about what they see and what the needs are. And we want to work in conjunction with those pastors, not work around them, not ignore their counsel, but really view them as a critical partner in what we believe God wants to do in Portland and Vancouver.
So you're talking about anything from scratch church plants, where somebody's just like really just going, we're building the core team and on up. You're talking about that, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And then are you also talking about, replants or mergers and those kinds of things?
Yeah, good question, Gabe. Thanks that's a really clarifying question. So when we think about starting new churches, we are talking about the whole core team approach and starting a brand new church. That could be a guy who moves into the area, who parachutes in and is having to do a lot of spade work to just build that core team. We're interested in working with people like that. We're interested in working with churches that are looking to start a new campus. We believe that's a vital way, a smart way sometimes to start a new church is to start a second campus. So that would be a part of what the SEND Network could get behind. Additionally, churches that want to start like a family of churches. So their vision for multiplying is we're going to have lots of different churches that aren't necessarily campuses, but we're still all working together. We're down for that too. And then there are replant opportunities. A good friend of mine within the SEND Network, Ricardo Barber, did a replant in Northeast Portland that's going really well, and SEND got behind that. And so there's lots of different ways to be involved with SEND and lots of different opportunities to multiply.
Yeah. I always think about stuff like this. Here's God's not only opened a door for you with the SEND Network, but also he's also seems like opened up the heartbeat of the SEND Network to be really cooperative and collaborative, right? Because I mean, maybe that might be somebody's perception if they're going like, "Oh, SEND Network, NAM, Southern Baptist is this something where we can work cross tribe?" And I know I've heard even in other conversations with you, I've heard you really clearly say, "Yeah," and that's exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting because, and one of the reasons I was willing to step into this role is I had a key question to ask. Are we only interested in planting a particular kind of Southern Baptist church? Or are we interested in planting good churches? And the answer was, we want to plant good churches. And that's something I could get excited about and get on board with. Also, I would just say that the Southern Baptist Convention, it's got some very traditional parts, very traditional groups within the SBC. But then you have a lot of groups and tribes within the SBC that I think pastors in the Pacific Northwest could slot into very easily. And the SEND Network is one of those.
Yeah. When you like step back and you go, okay, Redemption Church 5 years in is thriving, which is in itself kind of a miracle because you're located in the city itself, only 5 years in during a really difficult season to start a church, and things are going really well. That's awesome. And then you go, okay, now there's another thing that you're adding to your plate, but you got high hopes for this. I mean, where do you think this could literally be in 5 or 10 years? What difference do you think we could see?
Here's what I think. I think that the more pastors we can get to work together, the more guys we can equip who already have a demonstrated history of multiplying or have a really strong conviction to multiply. We can pour kerosene on that fire, meaning we can help them develop residencies or internships if they don't already have that in their church. We can work together to create a pipeline of guys who aspire to be church planters and think about places where they can plant. The SEND Network can provide funding for that as well. So SEND will put its money where its mouth is. SEND says we want to see churches planted, and then they invest heavily to see those new churches get started. And it's not just from the home base in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's from churches that are all over the country. 47,000 like-minded churches who are saying we want to work together to see new churches started, many, I should say, have a heart for the Pacific Northwest and are willing to partner with pastors and their congregations and with church planters to see new works get started. So that's something hopefully that people will hear and say, I think I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I always ask myself the question, what's at stake? Like if you, as I know you're very passionate about this, and I know you want this to work and to happen. And I think about like, what's at stake if it doesn't happen? Or if Virgil didn't say, pick me, I'll do it. I'll put my efforts into this. And, I realize it's a sacrifice for you. It's a sacrifice for you with a dad with a young family. It's a sacrifice as a church planter with a busy schedule without this extra thing. But what's at stake for you? Why would you say, yeah? Because if this doesn't happen, then
yeah.
What's at stake for you?
Well, great question. I want to finish answering that other question you asked about 5 years from now. What could this look like? I think it could look like we're working together and we're seeing 5, 6, maybe 10 new churches started annually in the Portland, Vancouver area.
Okay.
So big dreams, big hopes for what the Lord can do. And those churches would be, some of them English speaking, some of them non-English speaking churches. SEND has a number of Hispanic churches, and we're working right now to help start an Ethiopian church because the Ethiopian population is blowing up in the Portland metro area. So we're working with all kinds of people, all kinds of ways to plant all kinds of churches to reach the metro area. I really think that 5, 6, or 10 number, 10 churches a year, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but when you think about how large the area is that we're talking about and how many different people groups are a part of that, I think we can get there. And for me, that matters. I'll stick with the Ethiopian population for a moment. Over 10,000 Ethiopians live in the Portland metro area now.
Okay.
There are 8 evangelical churches seeking to serve that population. There just simply aren't enough churches to serve the people and reach the people who are moving to Portland. Part of that move is economic migration that's happening for lots of different reasons. But Portland knows what it's like to be underserved, to not have enough gospel access, and to not have a wide enough witness of Jesus Christ in our city. And we want to turn that around. When I think about church planting, if we're talking like huge picture, what's on the line, I think about the people who are here now, who we want to reach with the gospel, and those who will come after us. So you've got the folks who will migrate to Portland, and then you have the unborn, the largest people group, the largest unreached people group are those not yet born. So when I think about planting a church, I think about what kind of witness for Jesus Christ can we establish now, today, in our city that will serve people 30, 40, 50 years from now. And so what's on the line is being a faithful representation of Jesus Christ now and for successive generations in our city.
Yeah. Wow. I love that vision. That's so cool. That idea that the largest unreached people group are those that are not yet born. That's really a great way to say it. I think when I look at it, I feel like the opportunity in this particular moment to have a significant connection with SEND is really neat for our city, because I think I know the heart has always been there, but I feel like the door is open wider right now than I've ever seen it for this kind of collaboration with the SEND network. And that is like an example to me of what I see happening around the city. And there's it feels like there are more opportunities coming up. There's new networks starting. There's groups coming in that going like, hey, we're opening our door wider, and SEND is one of those. And I think, my prayer is that God would accelerate then the work that we can all do together, because we know it pleases him, to be together in unity. And we also know that's the number one apologetic we have for our city is the unity of the body of Christ. So to me, this is just a great opportunity to, like you said, lock arms. What do you think, like, when you go, okay, somebody said they want to be a part of this Portland coalition, what does be a part of it look like in your opinion?
Yeah. So there's a pastor listening, a member of the congregation listening. They want to take this to their pastor and say, hey, check this out. You might want to be a part of the SEND network. It could look like a lot of different things. So there are churches who can be a supporting church. They could say, we don't have anyone who wants to plant a church. We don't really see ourselves planting a church in the future, but we're excited about this work. We want to see it move forward. We would like to invest financially in this work, or we want to hear about new churches that might be started in our area because maybe we have people that we could send to be a part of that church. So a church could be a supporting church in that way. Church could be a sending church. They could say, we are thinking about church planting. We got a guy in our church who's really interested in church planting. We've been thinking about planting out in the Sherwood area, just throwing out an example. And so they could be the church that says, we want to work with you to get this guy ready to plant this church. So that would be a sending church. Or they could be a multiplying church. They could be a church that says, we want to see multiple churches planted out of our church. We've got a heart for that, or we've already started doing that work. And they could come and work with the SEND network to see those new churches get started. And then you have the movement churches. These are the churches that say, we're going to multiply. And the churches that we start, we want to see those churches multiply as well. So we're going to plant churches that plant churches. and they could also throw in the sin. On the coalition side of things, we're looking for pastors who would say, hey, man, I want to be a part of pouring into equipping other pastors. I want to be a part of shaping a vision for this larger metro area and thinking about what church planting can look like over the next 5 years and 10 years and 20 years in the Portland, Vancouver area. And that would be someone who says, I'm willing to meet and get together 4 times a year to dream and to pray about these things. I'm willing to show up to events where church planters will be gathered and give a talk on something that would be equipping and sharpening for them. I'm willing to pray and lead my congregation in praying about this. And some other churches might say, I want to formally be a part of the SEND Network and kind of sign my name on the line and say, I'm locking arms with SEND and we're moving forward together. Wow.
I love all of it. I'm so excited. I literally am. I think this is going to be a beautiful thing. And I, it's one of many things that we see God open the door for, but this one feels so ready to happen. And, what do you tell us, like, what's next for this? How do people get involved? You got a link or an event, or what's happening?
Yeah, we have an awesome, we're calling it a SEND One Day. That's coming up in October 28th. And Gabe, we got some dynamite speakers for that one day. One of them is you. My brother Gabe Kolstad has graciously agreed to give one of the talks on evangelism and how churches can work together. And then Josh White will be our other speaker to talk about evangelism and how we can reach our city. There's going to be a catered lunch. We'll have a panel discussion. Lots of opportunities for connecting with people who are a part of the SEND Network. Places where your questions can be answered, and just where you can engage people about church planting and multiplication. That's going to happen again October 28th. It's going to be at Door of Hope Church in Southeast Portland from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and registration is free. The link will be in the show description. So those description notes will have that link in there, and people can register. We are asking folks to register just so we can plan for food for that catered lunch. And Door of Hope is hosting it. They've graciously agreed to host and let us use their building. So we'll be in a great location in the city on October 28th.
Excellent. Wow. That is going to be so much fun. And one other last question, I guess we have for you, because some people might be thinking, well, I just want to talk to Virgil. So could you share your contact information so people can reach out to you?
100%. So you can send me an email. I now have an email set up for this just for NAM stuff, SEND Network stuff. It's vbrown, BROWN, at namb.net. So you can send me an email there, or you can reach out to me directly. Can I share my phone number, Gabe? Is that wise? I don't know. All right.
Yeah. If you're ready for thousands of calls to start coming in.
503-679-3641. You can send me a text message, or it can be a phone call. I'll be happy to talk with you about the SEND Network.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Hey, thank you so much, Virgil, for taking time to chat with us. I want to say thanks really for being a gospel-minded pastor in our city, somebody who you've always been about the body of Christ, deepening the body of Christ in the city, about growing the gospel in the city. I love that you are one of those leaders that's not just about what you're doing in your particular corner, but you're about what Jesus is doing around the city. And I think that's why God's given you this great opportunity. And I'm just grateful to know you, to be kind of on the same road with you, and looking forward to how God blesses all of these efforts, moving forward. So thanks a lot, Virgil.
Thank you, Gabe. Thanks for having me on, brother. It's my privilege to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Jesus in the Upper Left. We want to ask you a quick favor. Would you please subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and share with those that are in your life that might benefit from the content. Hit the notifications button, rate and review, of course, and then head on over to upperleftshow.com, where you can find bonus content, opportunities to connect with those around the city that are doing similar work as you, resources to help you, and just a way to connect to the community. We hope to see you again next time.